Vanishing voices. A race against time and silence. When a language fades, the world grows smaller. Imagine waking up one morning to find that no one remembers the lullabies your grandparents sang. No one recognizes the name of a nearby river. No one knows the meaning of the stories carved into ancient stones. It may sound dramatic, almost like the beginning of a dystopian novel, but it is the world we are already entering. According to a National Geographic article, Vanishing Voices, one language disappears every 2 weeks. Many disappear the same way they lived, quietly, in small communities, often with only one elder left, who carries the last thread of memory. But language loss is not just a cultural tragedy. It is a cognitive loss, an economic loss, a scientific loss, and a loss to every one of us. A world of meaning. What truly vanishes when a language dies? A language is not just a set of words. It is a map of how people see the world. Some languages have 30 different ways to describe light on water. Some capture emotions English speakers must explain in full sentences. Some hold knowledge about plants, healing, and nature that has never been written in any scientific book. For example, the Kalawaya language in the Andes is known almost exclusively as a repository of medicinal plant knowledge. It functions like a medical encyclopedia spoken aloud. If this language dies, so does a treasure chest of scientific understanding. Many languages come from biodiverse regions such as the Amazon, the Pacific, and the Arctic areas, where indigenous knowledge can directly guide conservation, climate strategy, and medicine. When a language dies, humanity loses an entire library. Why it matters. The hidden costs of linguistic extinction. Language loss is not just about heritage. It affects the world in practical, measurable ways. A. Cognitive power. A sharper, healthier mind. Bilingual and multilingual people often have better problem-solving skills, stronger memory, higher creativity. Delayed onset of dementia. When a language disappears, a generation loses the chance to grow up bilingual. Not because they choose not to, but because the option disappears. We are losing not only language, we are losing human potential. B. Economic power languages as natural resources. Many endangered languages are spoken in regions where people's knowledge of plants, wildlife, and land management has immense economic value. When those languages vanish, entire regions lose. Sustainable fishing techniques, farming methods adapted over centuries, ecological knowledge that tourists and scientists seek, unique cultural industries that support local economies. A disappearing language can weaken an entire community's economic future. C. Global power. Diplomacy, security, and science. In global diplomacy, Indigenous rights, forest protection, and environmental negotiations, multilingual staff are essential. Losing languages means losing negotiators who understand local communities, access to scientific information encoded in Indigenous vocabulary, cultural bridges needed for international cooperation. When a language fades, global understanding fades with it. The pressure to disappear. Why languages are dying so fast. Here are several forces driving the crisis. Globalization and economic pressure. Migration to cities. Education systems that exclude native languages. Low prestige or shame associated with minority languages. Languages do not die in explosions or wars. They die slowly, silently, in classrooms and workplaces where speaking your mother tongue is discouraged or simply seen as impractical. And once children stop learning a language, its chances of survival drop sharply. Global hotspots, where the crisis is most urgent. Some regions carry enormous linguistic diversity and enormous risk. Papua New Guinea, over 800 languages, more than any other country, many spoken by fewer than 1,000 people. The Americas, North, Central, South. Hundreds of indigenous languages, endangered due to colonization and cultural pressure. Northern Australia. A dramatic decline in Aboriginal languages, some with only 1 or 2 speakers left. The global imbalance. 90% of the world's population speaks the top 10% of languages. The remaining 10% of people speak the other 90% of languages. This means most languages are extremely fragile, spoken by small communities, and easily lost. The Language Threat Level Scale. A clear framework. To understand how close a language is to extinction, UNESCO uses a scale similar to an environmental threat system. It shows that language loss is not a sudden collapse, but a gradual slide through predictable stages. UNESCO Language Vitality Levels. 1. Vulnerable. Spoken by children, but not consistently or in all settings. 2. Definitely endangered. Children no longer learn it as their first language at home. 3. Severely endangered. Spoken mainly by grandparents may understand it, but do not speak it regularly. 4. Critically endangered. Only a very small number of elderly speakers remain. 5. Extinct. No living speakers. The language survives only in recordings or documents, if at all. This framework shows that language death is a process, not a sudden event. Many languages moved through these stages over decades before the final speaker passed. If this were a graph, you could imagine hundreds of languages sliding down this scale right now. Echoes of hope. How technology and collaboration are changing the future. There is hope, and a lot of it. AI and machine learning. The new digital scribes. AI can now transcribe old recordings, learn grammar and sound patterns, build digital dictionaries, reconstruct missing vocabulary, generate pronunciation tools. Linguists once needed years to document a language. AI can do the groundwork in weeks. But here's the nuance. Most AI tools rely on dominant languages, like English and Mandarin for training. This means global languages, often seen as the problem, are also part of the solution. This is not a simple winner versus loser situation. It is a complex but hopeful partnership. B. Apps, community tools, and gamification. Language revitalization today uses community dictionary apps, TikTok lesson creators, online audio archives, gamified learning inspired by Duolingo, digital storytelling platforms. Younger generations are rediscovering endangered languages through the same phones. They use for games, music, and social media. Technology is not killing languages. It can help save them. Lives behind the loss. The last speakers. In the extinction list, every vanished language carries a human story, a final speaker whose voice once held an entire world. The names in those records remind us that this crisis is deeply personal. Languages do not disappear in a single moment. They fade, person by person, home by home, memory by memory. Consider just a few examples. Edmund John Wolfe, one of the last fluent speakers of the Caddo language. Alta Smith, the final voice of Holikachuk in Alaska. And Ishi, the last speaker of the Yahi language in California. Each of them shows how a whole language can vanish with the passing of a single individual. Their stories reveal that every lost language is also the loss of a living voice, a lifetime of memories, and a community's bridge to its past. When these speakers passed away, their languages passed with them. Entire histories reduced to silence. Why it matters to you. The words you use every day. Even if you speak only English, your daily vocabulary is full of gifts from endangered or indigenous languages. Kayak, Inuit. Hammock, Taino. Shaman, Tungusic. Barbecue, Arawak. Canoe, Carib. These words enrich English, giving it color, flavor, and depth. Imagine English without them. How much flatter and poorer it would feel. Saving languages is not charity for others. It is a form of self-preservation. When we protect the world's languages, we protect our own future vocabulary, creativity, and intelligence. What we can do, keeping voices alive. You can help. Support Indigenous rights and education. Learn about endangered languages near you. Share their stories. Promote multilingual learning. Encourage schools to teach heritage languages. Celebrate linguistic diversity rather than fear it. Every time you learn a word from another culture, you help keep the world diverse intelligent, and alive. Conclusion: the race against silence. Languages are disappearing, but the tools to save them have never been stronger. The question is no longer, can we save them? We can. The real question is, do we care enough to try? Because when a language dies, the world grows smaller. But when even one endangered voice is revived, the world grows richer, stronger, and more human.
It's time to study new words in context. 1. Dystopian. Definition: describing an imagined society where life is unpleasant, unfair, or frightening, often due to oppression or disaster. Example: the novel takes place in a dystopian world, where citizens have no freedom. 2. Cognitive. Definition: related to the mental processes of learning, thinking, understanding, and remembering. Example: learning a new language can improve your cognitive skills. 3. Repository. Definition: a place where large amounts of information, objects, or knowledge are stored and protected. Example: a library is a repository of human history and ideas. 4. Medicinal. Definition: having healing properties or used for treating illness or injury. Example: the plant is known for its medicinal uses in traditional medicine. 5. Biodiverse. Definition: containing a large variety of different plants, animals, and ecosystems. Example: the Amazon rainforest is one of the most biodiverse regions in the world. 6. Indigenous. Definition: relating to the original people of a region, whose cultures and traditions have existed there for a long time. Example: Indigenous communities often have deep knowledge of their local environment. 7. Onset. Definition: the beginning of something, especially something unpleasant or serious. Example: regular exercise can help delay the onset of many age-related diseases. 8. Dementia. Definition: a medical condition that causes a decline in memory and thinking ability, often occurring in older adults. Example: bilingualism has been shown to delay the symptoms of dementia. 9. Immense. Definition: extremely large or great in amount, size, or importance. Example: the loss of the language had an immense impact on the community's identity. 10. Prestige. Definition: high status, respect, or admiration, given to someone or something because of success or quality. Example: speaking the national language often carries more prestige than speaking a minority language. 11. Gamification. Definition: the use of game-like elements such as points, levels, or rewards to make learning or tasks more engaging. Example: many language apps use gamification to keep learners motivated.
Comprehension questions. 1. What is the estimated rate at which a language disappears today? Answer: about one language every 2 weeks. 2. According to the article, why is language loss compared to losing an entire library? Answer: because each language contains unique knowledge, stories, ecological understanding, and cultural history that cannot be replaced once lost. 3. What major cognitive benefit is associated with bilingualism? Answer: bilingualism improves problem solving, memory, creativity, and can delay dementia. 4. What economic reason does the article give for protecting endangered languages? Answer: many endangered languages include traditional, ecological, and medicinal knowledge that supports sustainable local economies. Losing them removes valuable resources and economic opportunities. 5. What is one example of a language that contains scientific medical knowledge? Answer: the Calawea language in the Andes, known for its rich medicinal plant knowledge. 6. What percentage of the world's population speaks the top 10% of languages? Answer: about 90% of the world's population. 7. Why are Papua New Guinea, the Amazon, and Northern Australia considered language loss hotspots? Answer: because they contain very high linguistic diversity. with many languages spoken by only small communities, making them extremely vulnerable to extinction. 8. List two main pressures that cause languages to disappear. Answer: globalization and urban migration. Other acceptable answers: education systems, cultural shame, economic pressure. 9. What does it mean when a language is definitely endangered according to UNESCO? Answer: children are no longer learning it as their mother tongue at home. 10. What does it mean when a language is critically endangered? Answer: only a few elderly speakers remain. 11. Why is AI considered a promising tool for language revitalization? Answer: it can transcribe old recordings, detect patterns, create digital dictionaries, and analyze rare languages much faster than humans. 12. How are young people contributing to language revival today? Answer: through community apps, TikTok, teaching, online dictionaries, and gamified language learning tools. 13. Why does the article say language death is a process, not an event? Answer: because languages move through stages of endangerment, vulnerable to extinct, over years or decades before disappearing completely. 14. How did the article humanize the tragedy of language loss? Using the uploaded extinction list? Answer: by showing the names of terminal speakers, the last living individuals who carried entire languages in their memories. 15. Why does the article argue that language preservation benefits even English speakers? Answer: English has borrowed many words from indigenous and endangered languages, e.g., kayak, shaman, hammock. Preserving languages enriches global vocabulary and creativity. 16. Why is losing an endangered language considered a loss for science? Answer: many contain knowledge about plants, weather, wildlife, and ecosystems that science has not yet recorded or studied. 17. What role do dominant languages, like English and Mandarin, play in revitalization? Answer: although they contribute to language loss, they are also used as tools in revitalization, supporting AI development, educational programs, and bilingual teaching. 18. What is the main message of the article's conclusion? Answer: the world has the tools to save endangered languages, but saving them depends on the collective choice and commitment of individuals and communities. 19. What does the article suggest is lost when children stop learning their ancestral language? Answer: a connection to their cultural identity, and an opportunity to develop strong cognitive skills through bilingualism. 20. What simple actions can ordinary people take to support endangered languages? Answer: learning about local endangered languages, supporting Indigenous rights, promoting multilingual education, sharing awareness online, and celebrating cultural diversity.